So basically what we want to do now is talk to the panellists about their experience as a comic from personal perspective. In addition, we'll hear from the producers and what the journey of making this film is about to them. I'll start out by saying I loved Tommy's sense of humour. He used to say something that really made me laugh a lot. He was good friends with Jeff from Channel 9. And he used to say, if you liked this performance, my name is TYCHO. If you did not like it, my name is Chip. They had a good mate. Really, really well. Now, what I want to do is say to you, if you like the proverb, if you like this film, my name's Stephen Well. If you didn't like it, my name is Walter Fitzgerald.
Now, so the same about him.
Yes. It's been a hell of a journey for us. It's been a great journey. I didn't know what we were going to get into when we started this. I knew it was going to be a big crazy, but I didn't know how big and really how fulfilling it was going to be. Oh, 4 years? Sick like yesterday, don't it? Yeah. You said when we came into this film that we had a great responsibility. You're going to tell me what you actually meant. Why was it a great responsibility?
Well, actually, my words were a terrible responsibility. And I'm hit by that. About half, I read the biography and got a good background of Tommy, so I understood his history. But about probably the 10th interview we did 34 interviews for the film. About the 10th interview, I started thinking to myself, I've interviewed a lot of people, I've been involved with lots of interviews, but there's something special about these people and the story that they're telling, because first of all, they really mean it. And I mean, to get some of the people to stand in front of the camera that we got for this film says a lot about TYCHO. And I started to really become daunted about telling the story, because I thought, my God, not only do we have to just give justice to Commie's story, but also all the people that were associated with him. That's just as important. And, I as I said, it was a terrible and daunting responsibility. But 4 years is a long time to sit on that, and I think I've had a few sleepless nights. But here we go.
Are we here? We're here. Look, so what 3 words, you summarise in 3 words? Tommy T.
Well, the first word is, and that's a word that other people have repeated many times, Tommy was a musical genius. I think the second, that doesn't need in further comment. The second is that he cared a lot about things. He cared about his sister and his mother, and gave up a salary for 18 months and lived quite impoverished in Iran just to look after his family. But, we talked to Beach about a mentor in Rudy Value who he was a very caring man. I think the other thing is that he was very focused. He knew exactly where he wanted to go. So, being caring, a genius, musical genius, and being focused, they're the 3 words.
And of course, David over here, who has been a rock throughout his whole great monograph. So, Vicky, what was the journey like for you as a producer on this film?
Can you hear me? Yes. Extraordinary. above and beyond any of my expectations for this. To see this tonight, it's unbelievable. It's real. It's real, and it's happened. Um, uh, I learnt a lot from it. The two of us were greenhorns, novices. We never done anything like this before, so we were, we were blind, and we learned so much from you and Bob. In fact, a highlight for me was the day and the night that we spent together putting the undersnort in the footage. That was amazing. Treasures that we found on the way, because Tolly's collection of material is vast, and the film encouraged us to dig and delve into it. And we found so many treasures, but a memorable one for me, and a very emotional one, was finding the audio of my mother singing, which of course you heard and saw tonight. We didn't know Cat until we went getting. And along the way, we had a lot of help preserving this vast collection. Marcus from Store Video, I don't know where you are, but we would take over 45s and 78s and reel to reel and every other kind of material for Marcus to digitise or preserve for us, and that's a very important thing. I might hand over to you and then have that.
As you saw in the film, we've got over 3,500 original composition and arrangements in the music library. At the moment, we are digitising them. As you saw in the film, Ken Lang is preserving them by putting them on a computer program. We are also putting the original scores into a digitisation program where the pen and paper aspect of it can be kept on screen so musicians can play and watch the music as in Tommy's own hand. So in years to come as well, if there's ever any argument about, is this a dot here or is something else there, it's all in Tommy's original hand. And being paper and pencil, it's a finite lifespan on those sort of things. The other thing that we also have is a lot of audio and visual, not only Tommy, but also other artists who have performed over the years, over the 60, 70 years, which Channel 9, 7, 10 to SBS don't have any of that footage. And although the National Film and Sound Archive have been very good with lending out certain bits, Channel Era, they don't have that sort of footage. So a lot of artists probably have performances that we can share with them as part of their careers, and also other people could study them in years to come. The whole idea of that part of the preservation is so that future generations can benefit from the works that he's got.
And apologies for that reading, but I'm nervous. So I need to thank everybody who contributed to this project and this film. A great big thank you to Eddie and Lindy Tamir and all the staff at GIF. A very big thank you to Brian Hall and David White for their enormous contributions to the film. A special thanks to our associate producers, Greg Arthur, and the incredible Dr. Samuel Cattell for all his research. Wonderful. Particularly our profound thanks to Stefan and Bob for their passion, commitment, their energy, and, it just made our dreams come true to have this film.
Thank you, Vicky. It was a joy, and it exceeded our expectations too. I'm going to tell you.
I'd like to move to Jane Rutherdown. Jane, and I know how passionate you are. We've spoken about this a bit, about maintaining the passion about what people who came before us had done, and to make sure that their stories are told and remembered, not just once through a film, but on a continual basis through various means. You want to talk a bit about that?
Yes, I think many of the people on this panel, first of all, I want to say that I just thought I was blown away by the movie Blood and Film, and it was so moving, and I feel deeply touched and grateful to have had Tommy's belief in me as a young musician who was trying to make it as a soloist on the classical flute. And he just stood up for me so much and helped me so much. But I also think that many of us are in that sort of betwixt and between generation where we were doing a lot of important work pre-internet, and we're still doing important work is it post-internet or current internet? And there are people, this had to be made, Spillman, you did such a beautiful job. And I'm honoured to be with so many wonderful colleagues and to see your experiences with Tommy. I think there are people like Don Burrows, Terry Bedell, many people that my parents used to watch on TV and who, if their names come up, I think, oh, wasn't that wonderful? I think many of us of my generation now know what it feels like to be a sort of, shall I say, Eve Harrington and Margot, we're Margot Channing and there are a few Eve Harringtons chasing us. And the internet, if you don't know what the reference is, don't see the movie All About Eve. It's so important, especially in a country like Australia, which has a young cultural heritage to an extent in terms of our Western culture. I think that it's important that we don't just gloss over in our typical Australian lackadaisical way and just sort of look to the future. And that's why I think this film is so incredibly valuable. I also wanted to add that I have had a whirlwind of a career, and I used to ring Tommy, who had such incredible facility at writing a chart. Well, we heard from Yahoo Serious. I many times would be told by a symphony orchestra with whom I was playing solo that they couldn't get charts from Europe and the concert was next week. And I would ring Tommy and I'd say, Tommy, do you want the good news or the bad news? And he'd say, Stevie, when do you leave it by? And then before I'd even answer, he said, I will clear the copyist. And if you can get the charts to her, the score to her by tomorrow, then you can pick it up. I will do it for you by Tuesday. The concert is probably Friday. You pick it up from me on Wednesday night, take it to the copyist who has the charts on Thursday, take them with you, and then you have your music. So that was just phenomenal, and I am a bit of a stage hog, so that's enough, and thank you so much.
Started to love in Tommy was the use of the accent. That is, that keeps both the film. That was very good. Well, I'd like to now turn to Simon Tedeschi. And Simon, Tommy the child prodigy, you have a lot in common in that sense with Simon. You're very close to him. I used to read something that you wrote. It was in your book. And it goes like this. To his public, the child prodigy is a robot or a god. To his rivals, he is a false prophet. To his rivals' teachers and parents, he is a demon. To his society, he is a symbol. But to himself, he is simply a ghost. Incredibly strong words, the different faces of a child prodigy. What did it mean to you to be classified as a child prodigy? How did it affect you?
Well, it meant one thing as a child and then one thing in retrospect. And another thing to people who were speaking about me. And I think as one gets older, that this changes again. I didn't really know that I was very good at something, but for other people telling me that I was good at something. And I kept winning things, and I didn't really quite know how or why. I know Tommy had similar feelings, but it was fascinating because a lot of stuff about Tommy I only found out to that, which is true. I really only found out today because he was quite secretive about something, especially what he went through in the shower. I asked him once, he said, Simon, I had seen things that you would not believe. And I never, and he didn't push it. And now I know, Jesus Christ. Yeah, it's extraordinary that just, it's hangs over us now with what's going on in the world. Yeah, just, back to your question, I'm devoted somewhat. It's very challenging. And I think no matter who you are, being a quote unquote prodigy goes against the grain, or we'd say developmentally now.
I remember talking with you outside that interview, and you talked about the difference between the way Tommy reacted and Carrie post-show, and your grandmother, I think it was, how she carried it, and there was quite a stark difference in how they reacted, carried that through their life.
It's fascinating because they were a matter of kilometers from each other. I would sometimes visit my maternal grandmother and then visit Tommy afterwards. And my grandmother was a hard case, you could say that. And Tommy was just, in many ways he felt less angsty than Nettie, which was strange because after everything that he went through. Even to the end, he was making guts. I visited him in Montefiore, which is a Jewish home for people. He couldn't do much. And I said, Tommy, make it or anything. He said, you know what? Get me a fucking hand sandwich. Easily, that was damn funny to speak.
I think you should do long. That was wonderful, really. And I've got to say, being in the room with you when you played Rhapsody in Blue, I couldn't believe I was there, honestly. And really, it was magnificent. I'm sure you'll agree. What a and a good writer. I look forward to reading your book. We'll talk about that after this. One of the things I've found that sort of struck me later on, actually, in the process was, what I thought about it was the lineage now that we have in the people sitting at the front and others who are in the audience. And there's a lineage from the classical music point of view from Kadai. We've got Kadai, you've got TYCHO.
Wide, super wide, super wide.
Yes.
Super wide.
Lindsay.
Big wide, wide.
Dr. Cattell.
It's okay.
These people carry the torch, but they carry the torch not just of Tommy, they're carrying Padai. They're carrying Minor forward. And from there, from where they are, the people that they work with will hopefully carry that torch further. So Tommy will not just live on through his music, he's living on through these people. Yeah. That's in the sense, I think we have to think about that. We really have to think about that. I'd like to turn that bird of white bird. How are you? I'm doing very well. Again, very well. It's wonderful. Yeah, well. So, the protege of Tommy, you were very close to him. You learnt a lot. You carry that torch. You are now a mentor in your own right and a teacher. What are you carrying forward from Tommy in that sense as a mentor?
For me, I think the main thing about Tom was his generosity.
Yeah.
His generosity of spirit and of wanting you, as has been mentioned and it was mentioned in film, he wanted you to be the best. So it didn't matter who you were, if, as was recognised, if he recognised there was a talent to be supported and to be encouraged, and he just wanted the absolute best for you. And for me, that comes back to the fact that Tom was a beautiful example of what ego is, because he had a fabulous ego, but he was never egocentric, and he was never egotistical. He was a man who was very proud of what he had done, what he was able to achieve, but he was never prideful. And I think for me that's hopefully what all of us can bring as we pass the musical baton on. And can I just be off track for a moment? I brought the hat on tonight. So this is something I was featured in the film. They saw Bones of Tom, and after Tom passed, Vicky and David asked me to look after it for.
Could I interject and just say something? That it was mentioned in the film that this idea of the high arts snobbery, sort of judging musicians who are committed to fine music, but fine music for the people. And the thing that you can always hear in a musician, if there's great authenticity, you can hear it and the audience can feel it. And Tommy was a true musician. And when you played with him, when you played his arrangements, when you worked with him, when you hear that beautiful violin concerto, the other pieces that he wrote, you just know that he is serving the music and that his ego is not the thing that is being served, it's the music. And that's, I think, one of the big legacies from Tommy that we all share. We want to share the music with you.
Yeah, and I feel that is to me one of the greatest lessons that we can all learn from who Tom was, the way he invited us into the music, and wanted us to move. Always made it accessible to everybody, and he always wanted the violas to shine. In an orchestra, the violas are often the ones who are pushed aside and given a very, very supporting role. But Tom always talked about when he was doing orchestration, I would give the violas. And that's what he wanted for everybody. That money to shine. Thank you, Boo. Thank you very much. We're moving on to Sam now. How are you, Sam? How was England? Good.
Come now. I was doing the Steve pronunciation from New York. Yes, I've got back to Australia. You can do very well.
Well, you have been mentored, that's still being mentored by Burns.
Yes.
What have you picked up from that mentoring that you are carrying forward now?
Well, again, as Bernard mentioned, the generosity and the lack of that ego being imposed on people as well is such a beautiful thing. Because I'm only 12, I didn't get to meet them with Tommy like a lot of other people did. I'm not 12, I'm a little bit older. As a kid, I grew up with my grandparents' record collection, which featured Tommy TYCHO, and I used to listen to it. I had Bernard's CD when I was 7 on my Discman.
I had the cassette.
I was only 9. And it said, arranged and conducted by Tommy TYCHO. And I thought, what's an arranger and conductor? And I wanted to be that. So I studied to be that. And I got it to meet Tommy a few times in the home as well. And I remember asking him, if his sense of humor was still there. I said, why did you write this Cole Porter concerto? And he used money. And it was due on Tuesday, and how did he pay? And how long did it take? One afternoon. So, the sense of that commitment to the craft and the speed at which he worked, I've gotten off track. But I did my PhD to learn about Tommy. So I know what he ate for breakfast in 1945 and what he composed that afternoon. And Vicky always tells me I know more about her father than she does, which is a really scary thing to sort of inherit. in this lie here, and learn about Tommy through studying him, but also all the beautiful people on the panel and all the beautiful people in the film, and seeing their legacy and how I'm carrying that as well, and we all still carrying it, and I'm passing that on to my students. And I show them things that Tommy would do, and they just revel in that. So it's really encouraging to see in yet another generation. And I remember when I was a child, doing piano lessons, I have to play Mozart sonatas, and I had a very cranky teacher. She was always very cranky. And my grandfather used to listen to Mac the Knife, and I learned that you could put the melody of Mac the Knife to the left hand of the Mozart, and I got kicked out of my piano lessons every time I would do something like that. But I'd then go home and listen to my Tommy records, and he would do that, so it's okay. So that history is still there, and it's really such a beautiful and wonderful thing to carry that forward. And thank you for making this film.
A big fear that I had was that Sam would watch the film. He'd say, made an error there. You got that wrong there. The typo over there.
Well, I actually made some notes.
Listen, mate, and no. But look, it's been wonderful to know you and work with you, and your knowledge is incredible. Your passion's incredible. And hold the mic up, Stephen.
You have
Ted Hamilton. Yeah, I know, I did. Another great man, Ted, up there. Ted Hamilton, John Zerifon, wonderful. Will Daving, Barry Crocker's up there, is he? Barry, the back there. Yes. William Allen, Bill, Paul up there. There's all of these people, magnificent people to work with.
legends.
Gotta get top. Okay, yes, all right, we'll get there. Okay, so now we're going to move on to Maria. Maria Levy, ladies and gentlemen, Jackie. Tommy got his Law of Australia for service to music, particularly through training and encouraging our talent. How appropriate. You first met Tommy when you were leading a youth orchestra, weren't you? And what did that mean to you? How did that change your life?
Oh, well, that's where TYCHO came from. And I'll just briefly tell that story, but I also want to address the snobbery issue in classical music, because that existed very much with the powers that be, unfortunately, for Tommy and for all of us. But I just want to say on behalf of every classical instrumentalist and orchestral musician who has ever worked with Tommy, we loved him. Everybody, every single classical musician that I know absolutely still adores Tommy. People talk about it. People still say there is no better arrangement. You know, if you walk into the studio and there's a Tommy arrangement, you can just feel the sigh of, not just relief, but love. He composed, so on a musical level, he composed for the harp as if he played the instrument, and the trombone as if he played the instrument. Beethoven wouldn't do that. That's not just words. He had a real genius for that, but also his love of us and his humility in rehearsals and concerts, and the fact that he would say things like, I'm surrounded by the best people, I'm lucky. And, you know, we just, yeah. So back to the question though, I think I was 19, and one of the things that Tommy did as a mentor of youth was he would come in as guest conductor for the youth orchestras around the country. So I was concertmaster of the Sydney Youth Orchestra, when he came in to conduct some concerts in the Town Hall and the Opera House, these pretty big concerts. And I had a solo I got up to stand up to play solo. And he, as he did for all of us here, many, many words of encouragement about my future and all that sort of thing. Anyway, it turned out he went off and wrote the Martin Concerto just after having worked with me on that occasion. But our paths didn't cross again for quite a few years, so I didn't know about the concerto all the time. It's really quite an extraordinary story. And when we did come together and we were doing some orchestral concerts, and he walked up to me one day at the venue, between two rehearsals or something, and said, Marie, there's a piano backstage. Come back and play through this little thing I wrote. he'd had written himself a piano reduction of the orchestral part of the concerto, so he got me to just read the violin part while he played the piano reduction. And without him saying anything, I had the feeling that he was written for me. And I can't explain how he knew me so well, having worked with me as a soloist on, at 2 or 3 occasions in that tour. And it was, it's just obviously such.
John, we have to move on, but that's okay. Now, thank you. I want to go to Jackie Love and then we'll go to Greg. How long we got? 30 seconds, have we? Yeah. Bloody hell. Jackie, talk about Tommy the arranger, and I know one of the tunes you love is still called Australia Home. Would you like to say why that's important and then give us a little bit of that?
Yeah, well, can I just say I love Tommy so much, and that the day he passed, I could feel a significant amount of love in my life. And I just want to thank Vicky for sharing him with us. As you did, congratulations. It is such a beautiful movie, and your dad would be so proud of you, Nikki. Yeah. So. Okay. Well, I always felt really well armed because I've worked around the world, but having Tommy TYCHO's arrangements with me, I felt so well armed and comfortable. I remember once passing a group of horn players saying, "Oh, another bloody arranger who thinks more notes are better." And I go, "Just you wait, guys. Buckle up and get ready to use your musician chops." And it was a song he had suggested for me, and it was monumental in its effect. And what by it to keep. It was fantastic. Anyway, so in all my travels, it was just so beautiful to hit a place, particularly with a lot of expats, and to sing Connie's arrangement of I Still Call Australia Home, because his arranging is so emotive, and it takes people on a journey, as you saw in the movie. And one other thing that I find I just quickly mention, Tommy was the most amazing accompanist. So we love his musicianship. It's spectacular, and he's a giant. But when you sang with Tommy, it was just Cameron and you, he was breathing with you. He was with you emotionally. It was just incredible. So when I would start singing, now to get back to the question.
Yeah, please.
Came into cities that never closed down, from New York to Rio and old London town. But no matter how far or how wide I roam, I still call Australia home.
You gotta go now. Brett, I know I'm coming down. He's on slow, aren't I? Who are you again? Oh, Brett. I'll just take nothing to say. Just say, Rick, up to the Audi over here wants us all to leave. Rick did the artwork? Oh, you were saying? She also did this beautiful portrait of Tommy, which is the poster for our film. Look at the eyes. It's all Greg. Not just a magnificent musician, an actor, an artist in every sense. And I want to give that to you, Greg. I'd like you to take that, we put it on like a canvasy thing, and use that at home. So, there you go. Good time. Good time. We're going to go now. Good time, good time. You want to hold it up, Greg? Show you. That's wonderful. So that's our poster. Greg's artwork, magnificent. I can't thank you all enough on behalf of Bob and Vicky, David, all the wonderful artists here, all the wonderful artists up there, ladies and gentlemen who have spent your hard-earned money to come and watch this film. Thank you. It means a lot to us, you know. We're not curing cancer. We'd like to, but we're trying to entertain. We're trying to help people understand that there are some magnificent people out there doing wonderful things, and really none better than Tommy TYCHO. So, thank you.